Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us on this edition of Decryptage on Africa 24. We are joined by Dr. Abdul KAMARA, Director General of the African Development Bank's County Department in Nigeria. He discusses how Nigeria, as Africa's most populous country, stands to benefit from the Mission 300 initiative. Mission 300 is an ambitious project that aims to provide 300 million people in Africa with access to electricity by 2030. Dr. Abdul KAMARA, thank you and welcome to Africa 24 English. Mission 300 is a very ambitious project and many people doubt that the deadline will be met. Nigeria, being the most populous country in Africa, will also benefit greatly from this project and will feel that the private sector is also very mobilized. Take us through the energy landscape in Nigeria and how the country will implement the Mission 300 goals.
Yeah, you actually have said it right. Mission 300 is big, it's bold, and it's very, very timely. Mission 300 seeking to connect 300 million Africans to electricity by 2030 is now timely more than ever. And of course, Nigeria being the most populous country in Africa, over 220 million people, but a significant percentage of that country, close to 40%, not connected to electricity, is unacceptable. And this has been noted by the government. The federal government of Nigeria has been working very, very hard to ensure that we close the energy gap. We heard it yesterday in the plenary, that energy is actually like blood in the human system. Without the blood, you cannot function, and therefore, no economy can grow in the dark. So you need energy to power economies. Nigeria has been working with us on their compact, and that compact is very, very ambitious precisely because Nigeria wants to close the energy gap to revitalize and reboost the productive sector at a time when food security is an issue, but also stabilizing the economy to ensure that that country reaches its production potential is really an issue. So we have been working on the compact, and of course you know that Nigeria is one of the 12 countries that have signed compact here, and we are very pleased that the conversation went very well, in the Nigeria compact conversations. Of course, I know you'll have follow-up questions, but the compact is very exciting. It has various components. We can discuss about it now. That is what we are going to do to ensure that the message goes out there in the States so that we really explore all sources of energy. We are talking of solar, we are talking of wind, we are talking of hydro, but we are also talking of transmission, last mile access, last mile connectivity, giving power to the productive sector, agriculture, agro-industrialization, a special agro-industry processing zones. We are going to make sure that the dots connect between the provision of energy as an enabler of productive sector, but also, value addition to make sure that we realize the huge potential of Nigeria.
Nigeria is one of the first countries to present the Energy Compact. Tell us more about them and how Nigeria will use them to realize its energy potential and goals.
Well, in simple terms, the compact is simply a document that the government prepares that gives timelines to targets that the country has set itself. But setting this together with development partners, together with development banks, to those with the financial muscle actually to accompany the government. So what are the areas that the government has been targeting? Firstly, we know we have only about, 14.5 gigabytes of electricity that is being produced in the country, and only about 5.5 gigawatts is being utilized. So there are a lot of gaps in transition, gaps in connectivity, but also in distribution. So the first area of the compact is that of scaling up the production, the transmission and distribution of energy. That is very, very important. There are indicators there, but also there are milestones. So the second area of the compact, it's actually strengthening the viability of the utilities. We know energy is very, very complex. Transmission, you can produce, you transmit, but if the utilities are not functional, it's not sustainable. The government wants to tackle that. You know, the third area that the government wants to tackle really in all of this is that of last mile connectivity, the rural areas. And now we have things like distributed renewable energy. We have solar home systems. We have mini grid potential of the country. We have, you know, hydro. So the government is going to look at every sources, working very closely with the African Development Bank, working with the World Bank, as you heard, and other partners, Islamic Development Bank and, you know, Rockefeller Foundation, to ensure that this really happens. And clearly, we cannot do this alone. The private sector has to come in and come in big time. Why has the private sector got to come in big time? Implementing the compact in Nigeria is estimated at some $22.5 billion. So from the side of the government is expecting to put in $7.7 billion, you know, over until 2030, by which time the government expects to have connected each and every Nigerian to power. Of course, that is it's a high set target, but of course, it's also doable. And 15.2% is expected to be private investment. I call it investment because energy, if you create an energy market, you build it on reforms that the government has already undertaken, you know, and you avail the technologies and innovation, definitely you can create an energy market that will entice the private sector to invest. So that is the fourth area. And the fifth area is also regional connectivity. You know, the power of Nigerian economy to power the region, you know, is a fact. And this is a fact also that it has not been very much utilized. So we are connecting with roads, but we also want to connect with power so that Nigeria can export power to the rest of West Africa, and of course, or actually spur power trade between the countries, because one country can import or export power depending on, you know, their energy potential. So to the layman, that is the compact. The compact means the government working with development partners, working with the private sector, with targeted milestones of energy in those 5 areas to really ensure that we deliver energy to Nigerians. And we believe we can do it.
What makes you so sure that these goals will be achieved?
This is doable. It is the first time that the world's biggest multilateral financial institutions, the World Bank, the African Development Bank, Islamic Development Bank, Rockefeller Foundation, are coming together to set themselves a target. And this target now goes with precise number, 300 million Africans. So that means as the clock ticks, we are going to hold ourselves accountable. The second reason is it is the first time you are seeing more than 18 African heads of states converging here. As I speak, they are sitting in the hall, you know, to discuss their own energy needs, but also to discuss to ensure that, you know, energy is delivered in their country. So we have the highest level of commitment. And then the third reason why we would believe, we've never seen such far-reaching reforms in countries as we are seeing now. I mean, Nigeria, I'm not going to go into the details, but you saw what happened with the energy sector, but you also saw how hard the government has worked to develop this compact with milestones, which clearly gives a reason that we are going to achieve this. And the financing, we already have pledges. I think $2.6 billion from the Islamic Development Bank, others pledged $1.5 billion, and of course the African Development Bank, you heard we are going to put in several billion dollars, the World Bank $18.2 billion, you know, so definitely we are very confident. The clock is ticking. Next year when we come back, we'll tell you the numbers.
Dr. Abdul KAMARA, thank you for answering Africa's 24 questions. And to our viewers, thank you for watching this program. Stay tuned to Africa 24 English for the best African news in streaming and replay on our website, africa24tv.com, and on all our social networks.